View, more than 1,000 delegates from 28 countries will gather this upcoming week for the 4th Global Child and Youth Care Network Conference. That conference, to be held at the International Convention Centre in Durban, is being hosted by the National Association of Childcare Workers, Government and the UN Children's Fund, Unicef. To discuss, we're joined from our Durban studio by Cornelius Williams, the Global Chief of Child Protection at Unicef. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Williams. What is the Child and Youth Care Network Conference all about? What do you hope to achieve?
So what we hope to achieve, what we have is we have 1,300 delegates from 28 countries who've come in, and we hope to be able to exchange best practice on youth and child and youth care practices and build on the good experience that we have from South Africa.
Well, since South Africa is hosting, it's worth mentioning that children here are so vulnerable. So you, as an organization, speaking about the 67% below the poverty line, 1/3 affected by some sort of abuse before 18. A study found another one that 99% of South African children had experienced or witnessed some form of violence. We need something more than discussions. Are there any solutions for intractable problems like these?
So one of the solutions is the early intervention. We have to be able to work with these children from the early age before they're abused or before they're harmed or before they get caught up in the justice system. And by doing that, actually, we have to work with them and identify those who are vulnerable and provide them with the support and provide them with the care they need. And also, actually, it's about working with these children in the space that they live in on a day-to-day basis. And that's what child and youth care workers do.
So a lot of this is about the men and women who care for children. I know many countries are involved, but do you have an opinion on our social services here in South Africa?
Yeah, a lot of countries are involved. So the social service in South Africa is being supported by what we would call the parasocial workers, actually. And so this group of workers, the child and youth care workers, fill a gap because they are able actually to focus and to be in the community with these children and to work with them in a meaningful way on a day-to-day basis.
Of course, you need enough, and you need professionals in those roles as well.
Yes, you need professionals in those roles. You need supervisors who support the professional in those roles. And we need to make sure that they are working with the communities and with the parents and with the children. And one of the things about the child and youth workers is that it also gives an opportunity for youths in their communities to give back to their communities and to play a transformative role for other young people.
I see that you've listed some of the benefits. So child care services, if these people intervene, like you say, early enough, there are various positive outcomes like lowering teen pregnancy rates. Just tell us more about how important interventions are at the right age.
At the right age, if you're able to get to these young people at the right time, it is very important. One, teenage pregnancy. They could also try to make sure that they are prevented from HIV/AIDS infection. There are also the issue of making sure that these teenagers don't get into trouble with the law or have negative practices, right, like drugs, okay, getting into gangs. And so one of the issues, it's not only about the worker, it's about the safe pack as well, which is the Bindi Run, that taps into the youth and sucks their energy so that they are not able to move into negative practices. You have to be able to engage this youth constantly. They're full of energy.
Civil society will be there, so will NGOs. Will they get a chance to lobby government? Because in South Africa, there are issues about a new Children's Act, for example. Many NGOs are saying they are being increasingly strained by the law, that some of the laws seem to make adoption very difficult. Will those sorts of things be discussed at a forum like this?
So this is a big tent, actually, and one of the beauty of this is that we will have best practices from other countries that would be also talking about their adoption practice. They would also be talking about their social service practice. So we're all here to listen and learn, and this would provide an opportunity for the civil society to engage with the government and see this best practice and see how we can learn from them. And maybe this can also contribute to resolving some of the problems that you have in South Africa.
There is suspicion, there's talk of NGOs, for instance, charging a lot for adoptions. They say it's not true. There's a debate over whether government should run all social services or use NGOs. So let's end. How ideally should governments, NGOs and global agencies like yours collaborate around issues like this?
If we don't collaborate, we would not be doing the best thing for these children. The civil society needs to collaborate with government. Government needs to set the standards and the regulation. Civil societies are able to provide services where there is good regulation, good coordination by the government. We in Unicef are able to bring best practice, support the governments to set up the standards, share with the government what we have done in other countries and what other governments have done to address this problem, get the civil society organization to understand how to address this problem. This problem is not unique to South Africa. We've seen it in other countries, and it has been resolved by proper dialogue between civil society and the government, and we in UNICEF are ready to facilitate.
All right, thank you very much. So looking ahead to that conference being held in Durban this week, that was the Global Chief of Child Protection at UNICEF, Cornelius Williams.